Well, hello, Chicago sports fans. Welcome into Monsters of the Madhouse. We are so happy to have you all with us tonight on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, you can like and subscribe to us, Monsters of the Madhouse, Chicago Sports Podcast. We are so happy to have you with us. I am Matt Cooper, along with Dano Blakes from beautiful Midlothian, Illinois. Dano, what's going on, dude?
Hey, what's up, man? It's ready to get into some pro day talk.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into with that. We're going to talk a lot of football and where the Bears kind of go from here. I also want to introduce to you Kyle and Brandon. Now, if you guys can't tell, if you got to look a little bit closely here, you got Kyle and Brandon who might be related to each other. That's on the show here tonight. If you can
cousin once removed.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, first off, it's good to see you back, man. We had you on last week. We were talking, or 2 weeks ago we were on. I can't even remember the last time. I can't remember what happened yesterday. But Brandon, it's good to have you back on, man.
Appreciate it, Matt. How you feeling?
Feeling great. And your twin brother, Kyle. Kyle, what's going on, dude? Welcome for the first time to Monsters of the Madhouse.
Thanks, Matt. How's everybody doing today?
We're good, man.
Good.
I got like the Bears background for both. You got Brandon. You got the cool background, and then you got the Gale Sayers. Kyle, we like that, man. That's a cool look. And then last but not least, we got to bring in our buddy Brian from Louisville, diehard Bears fan himself. Brian, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, not much. I got the Trubisky jersey up here still to compete with.
I wasn't going to say anything, man. For the once I was going to say, what's up, Brian? Our Bears fan. But hey, you know what? You brought it up, Mitch Trubisky, man. So I'll let there. We can't go without a show without you showing that. So we got to make that a habit every week now, Brian, because that's going to bring us our memories.
Right, it's got a life of its own, man.
Brian, you're a big fan of quarterbacks that go to the Steelers?
Apparently so. Yeah, they tend to replace each other too.
So is that a Bills head I see on that? Because I can't tell. That's all I'm asking.
Oh no,
no Bills.
This is just it's my real estate hat actually.
Oh, okay. I was just mistaken, man. I thought it was blue in the back, but I got that wrong. So, and thanks to all you that's watching today. Yeah. I got a White Sox hat on, but I didn't want to show the front part of it. So
I don't blame you.
Just the MLB part. Which today was weird. It was opening day today in Korea, which is a weird thing. That's still weird for me to be at the gym this morning watching baseball in another country. So I still don't consider it opening day, but we digress a little bit, guys. No. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can check out our shows too on our page. We have shows that run all the time here on Monsters of the Madhouse, the Chicago Sports Podcast. Also on our Facebook page. You guys can check us out there and on Twitter. So many different ways that you can watch tonight as we get into all things Bears. And guys, first off, before we get into Caleb Williams today, we've seen it all over the place. He's been posted all about his pro day. He had some interviews. I caught one of the interviews from the NFL Network that I found kind of interesting. I'll give my thoughts about that in a little bit and maybe a little bit about the draft later. But before we start with that, I just want to take a second here to wish our guy Justin, because the last time we talked, Justin Fields was still on the Bears. That was a week ago. And I know a lot of us have covered, a lot of you guys are also have been part of the shows here on our channel have covered that. But I've been here with the Chicago Sports Podcast since the beginning, and I feel like we've talked so much about Justin Fields, about him, his progress, and the coaches, and everything that has gone in between. And you know what? I wish that guy nothing but the best of luck. I'm a Justin Fields fan. Granted, did I have questions about some of the stuff from his performance last year? Yes. Was he in a bad system at times? Could be, yes. I mean, you could put the argument for everything. And I could tell you, my girlfriend's a diehard Steelers fan from Pittsburgh. So I could tell you going to that situation, I think is the best for him. I think that couldn't have worked out better. That's a team where they put across saying the standard is the standard. They mean that. They got veterans in there that run that team. That team they probably had no business being in the playoffs last year, but they somehow made it. Even with an offensive coordinator, they had no reason of even being a coach for half of the season. I didn't think Kenny Pickett was that great last year, so I think they've upgraded their quarterback room this year, and I do think he's going to get in at some point. And I think there's no better place for him to be than there, because if that guy goes there and he performs, that town is going to embrace him, because that fan base is insane and they're crazy. And I've been to games there. I've been to games on the road where it felt like a home game and all their fans took over the stadium. Like I don't think it could have worked out better for him. So I just wanted to wish Justin Fields all the best on his journey to Pittsburgh. Yeah. So
I think there's there's been two sides of the story. I feel like it's been either it's been Justin Fields' fault or it's been the Bears' fault. Or Justin Fields failed or the Bears failed. I think the truth is that the Bears failed Justin Fields and Justin Fields failed the Bears. So that's where I'm at with the whole Justin Fields situation.
I think that's well said, Dan.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had issues separating the player from the person, and I mean, you're still seeing it today. Just a lot of people who see like petitions for bring Justin Fields back or wear a commemorative patch that says #1 for Justin Fields. The reality is Justin Fields he was a good leader, a good locker room guy, but the reality is he didn't live up to expectations. And he's probably in a better situation than he was here.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was like, I was done with him mentally. I mean, I just couldn't handle it. You know,
Brian quit.
I mean, I'm going right at it. You know,
But he's still got the Trubisky jersey hanging in the back.
Yeah, well, that one's signed. That's the only reason that's still on
No,
the wall.
no, dude. You're
I'm
mentally
just
never
giving
going to
you
take him
crap.
out of your mind. Let's be honest, sir. He's always with you.
Yeah, he's always in my heart. You know.
Yeah. I have to be a Steelers fan in my house, but so
Yeah. Well, my fiance grew up 1 hour outside of Pittsburgh, so I mean, she hates the Steelers with all her heart, but I mean, she's a Broncos fan, and I don't know how that happens.
But it's just going to be interesting because it's been such an interesting offseason already in just 1 week with all the quarterbacks and where they've gone and these backup quarterbacks that have made so much money in free agency. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, did his value really go down that much? But we'll wait and see. So I know a lot of us are going to be waiting. I mean, I watch every game here anyways because me and her watch both of our teams like religiously. But I feel like a lot of other Bears fans are going to be keeping an eye on that too. So as we talk here and end with, as we say goodbye to Justin Fields, we talk about the draft, which is what, guys, 5 weeks away. I can't wait because this is my favorite time of the year. Outside of the NFL season itself, my favorite time is the draft. Free agency is cool. I think the draft's more important. And I think you really got to make the right picks. And we're in a division where we have two teams. Heck, even three. I'm going to even put the Vikings in that list because I think they had a good draft too last year. But we have two teams in our division, the Lions and the Packers, that draft very, very well. And I feel like, and there's no reason for you to believe that they're not going to do that again this year. So I feel like this is going to be an important draft. And that leads us to our #1 pick, and that's going to be a quarterback. And we had our pro day today. You saw it all over the place with Caleb Williams. And I watched the videos like you guys did too. And I can't wait to hear what you guys got to say. And then you guys could leave comments too if you guys have anything that you want to say, what you thought you saw with Caleb Williams. But I watched that. I watched his poise. I watched, and then he was in the pocket most of the time, granted, and he didn't have pads. We got to make this known too, guys. This is not in pads or anything like that. So he's throwing to his teammates, but there was many different people there from the Bears. We had 9 different staff members that were there watching him. And I think what a couple of takeaways. Takeaway is I love his agility. I love he's a very good athlete. And I liked his interview that I saw afterwards on the NFL Network. He was talking about his throwing. He was talking about how he was off a little bit on some of them. And he could do a little bit better. But what took me away was it looks like this guy is a very confident kid. And I guess you would be playing at USC in that program. Very confident. And I liked his poise, and I kind of liked everything about him that I saw today. Now, granted, it's one day, and I haven't seen that much of him before, but I came away pretty impressed with him in that video, in the interview afterwards. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is something special, or this could turn into something special. We all don't know, but I'm excited to see what the future looks like.
Yeah,
I think the most important part that you.
Yeah, I was same as you, man. I was impressed.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I think you're in a little bit of a delay, Dan.
I was most impressed with his demeanor and with his confidence. Do I? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we could hear you. I thought
You
was
guys
a little
go
bit
ahead,
of a
take over.
delay, that's all.
Somebody else take over.
Yeah, I think the first thing that jumped off the screen to me was,
Yeah.
first of all, just how big Caleb Williams is. I mean, he's got a very, very impressive lower body. He's strong, he's fast, he's athletic. I think a lot of the Caleb Williams naysayers were using his size as an excuse to keep Justin Fields, but I think he measured in the combine just slightly over 6'1". Today he measured slightly under 6'1". It's about 215 to 217 pounds. He's a powerful athlete. When he throws the ball, it looks effortless. I think the last throw of the pro day today, he threw from about the 15 to the 20, so about a 65-yard pass. Didn't look like he was giving it his all. I know he did a lot of pocket work today because a lot of people said he's not good in the pocket. So he about 60% out of the shotgun, 40% under center, but he looked good. His throws were precise. The ball comes out of his hand quick. It's a quick delivery. He just looks like the guy the Bears want him and need him to be.
Yeah, I think the most important part is what you relayed to, Matt, is, even as good as a pro day as he had, because by every measure he had a great day today, let's be honest, but he was still very critical of himself. You know what I mean? Like the fact that Caleb Williams thinks that Caleb Williams can get better should surprise a lot of people, because a lot of people think he's just full of arrogance and ego, but I think it's just a confidence. But I don't think there's any part of him that doesn't think he can grow as a player. And as you said, he pointed out, I there was a lot of positive to reflect on if you're Caleb Williams, the person. But the one thing that he said on every interview I've watched, he had an NFL Network interview, he had Colin Cowherd interview, everything that he referred to was the woes. Like, what could I have done better? How could I have, he said he missed Brendan Rice on a throw short. I mean, it's important to me. I think when Aaron Rodgers was being drafted, they asked Jim Haslett, who was coaching the Saints, why didn't you like Aaron Rodgers? And he relayed to something like, Rodgers thought he was the best he could be at everything, which meant to me he had no room to grow. Caleb doesn't have that mentality. He knows there's places he can get better. He knows he's got a lot of room for growth. And that was the first place he went to when he was asked questions today. He had almost seemed like, he's got his swag. He felt like he had a good day, but you could tell he was a little upset with a couple of things. There was things a couple of throws he wanted back. And that's really important to see out of a player that you might call your future quarterback.
Yeah, I was just most impressed. I mean, coming into it, the pro days are designed to be easy layups and stuff like that. And he was just effortless. And I mean, going through his motions, didn't even look like he was phased. It was just like a normal practice, even though it's the biggest, job interview of his life. He just was not phased at all. But the thing that impressed me the most was the post pro day interview. I mean, I haven't heard him talk a whole lot. I don't know if he was one of them people that just stayed away from the microphone or wherever at USC, but I mean, out this way, I mean, I just don't get that many USC games. So, I mean, I don't see the post-game interviews or anything like that. He just came across as really smart and articulate, and he really knows what he's talking about. The fact that he already knew Keenan Allen too, that was like, I had a feeling that they would like cross paths and stuff like that with that Southern California thing, but I didn't think they would be that close. He said he's known him for a few years now. So, I mean, that's kind of awesome. It's kind of makes you wonder if that's why we're getting, we were able to trade for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I like that part too. Keenan Allen really making his presence known there. And you got to imagine, being in the Chargers organization for a long time like he was, and probably just players on the collegiate level, I don't know how they become friends, or they reach out to you, or you find those people that can mentor you sometimes, and you could tell there's that special relationship between those two, and you can only hope that that's going to develop. And I think it's interesting too, guys, when we're watching this is such a unique draft class for quarterbacks. Now, we said that back when we took Justin Fields in 2021, and now what? A lot of them aren't even on the same teams anymore. Wilson and Trey Lance, they're all gone. They're all not even where they're supposed to be. But you look at some of the athletes in the draft this year, and there's a lot of special, according to the experts, there's a lot of special ones. And these pro days are going to be very important because there's going to be more coming up here over the next week or so. But I think coaching has a lot to do in the collegiate level right now, because you got a lot of these coaches like a Lincoln Riley with that fast-paced offense that his offense kind of translates a little bit more to the NFL. He's not the only one. There's a lot of these other coaches that kind of get these players in that right mindset and to that right type of situations where they can go into the next level. Now, the quickness is not going to be the same as college. I mean, you're going to be playing against defenses and coordinators that are a lot smarter and a lot bigger and stronger. But I think coaching has a lot to do with this, and I think Lincoln Riley's a damn good offensive coach. I know they had the USC had struggles on defense this year, putting up a lot of points, but I think that's what I think makes Caleb Williams even more special. Is I don't think that USC team was that great this year. They had a horrible defense. They gave up a ton of points, historic amount of points in those games, and their offensive line I didn't think was that great, and he still went out there and performed the way he did.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people revert back to the Notre Dame game. I mean, obviously, like you said, USC's interior offensive line was terrible, egregious. I mean, the amount of pressure and any big moment that Caleb Williams had this season, it was just too much to overcome. That's why they clearly had a pretty bad record. USC, I think I don't remember what it was. I think they lost 5 games, but the Notre Dame game is a game that a lot of people refer back to, and I think games like those where Caleb wasn't able to play hero ball, where he wasn't able to just go out there and sling it, those are the games where the college quarterback learns the most. And I think, the pressure came in that Notre Dame game, and he had almost no time at all to throw. And if you relay back to that game, he was pretty good in 3/4 of that football game in quick release, just finding a place to go with the ball before getting hit. And like I said, I think players learn their lessons in games like those. If everything goes swimmingly all the time, you're never really gonna be prepared for an NFL.
Yeah, I like to think that the Bears offensive line is a little bit more stout than that USC offensive line. It's kind of where I was thinking.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see about that, right?
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, they were ranked pretty good as far as pass blocking and run block win rate and stuff like that. So I mean, the Bears were pretty good in those categories, but they still need that center. As long as he can learn how to set up his pass protection, whatever, call out the mic and all that stuff, I think he's going to be okay with behind that offensive line. Hoping we still get a center though. That's the one glaring need on that offensive line still.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about that too, guys, because I want to get into the draft a little bit. I was earlier today. I was kind of going over certain because it's very interesting. We got the 1 and the 9 pick, and you see the different scenarios out there. But we're going to break that down a little bit because I have some thoughts on that, especially after I was watching tape on a certain player that I think that has caught my attention. Outside of the quarterbacks and, of course, the wide receivers, there's a player that caught my attention earlier that I'm like, okay. Something I want to get into. Hey guys, Underdog Fantasy, you guys can check them out. That is our friends here, Chicago Sports Podcast, underdogfantasy.com. And you can use the CSP sign-in code when you go on there at Underdog Fantasy. Heck, it's a great time of the year, guys. We got basketball the next couple of days to watch for the tournament. We got baseball next week. So make sure you check out our partners, Underdog Fantasy, the official gaming partner of Chicago Sports Podcast, the voice of the Chicago sports fan. You guys can like and subscribe on our YouTube channel as well. Follow us along. Let's watch some of our other shows. You can see Dan on a couple of shows, Dano on a couple of shows, and Brian and Kyle. Look at these good-looking faces on here tonight. You want to see more of those. I want to see more of those, and so do you. So you guys can like and subscribe our YouTube channel. I follow us along on our Facebook page as well because we keep you up to date with everything going on in Chicago sports on our Facebook page, where you could also watch our shows, and on Twitter, which I was actually doing the other day, Dan, when you were on. I was watching on the Twitter feed. So,
find me every Monday and Wednesday night.
That's right, Dan. And I will find you, and you guys can find him too. He does an awesome job, just like everybody else on our show here on the Chicago Sports Podcast. And guys, tomorrow night, don't forget, Pinky, I see you on here today, man. First off, we got to say hello to our
Pinky,
listener.
what's up, man?
Pinky, what's going on? I see Kyle on there and everybody else leaving comments tonight. Pinky will be on tomorrow night. Special guest tomorrow night, guys. Dan Hampton will be on. That is 6:00 Central Time. So you'll be just getting back home from work. You can grab yourself some food and check it out. So that's tomorrow night, guys, right here, Monsters of the Madhouse, Chicago Sports Podcast. We're talking all things draft here. We're talking about Caleb Williams. He had his pro day. And I want to get your guys' thoughts too a little bit. First off, I think one of my favorite things that I saw today was just very odd, but I saw a photo of Shane Waldron, our offensive coordinator. Looks like the football coach, like the big, tough football coach, Standing right next to him is Cliff Kingsbury, this very good-looking guy. Looks like he's all Hollywood, and he's got his sunglasses on. I'm like, boy, look at the opposites of those two guys, man. Like,
It's kind of like you standing next to me, Matt. You're like the Cliff Kingsbury, and I'm like the Shane Waldman.
damn right I am. I am the Cliff Kingsbury. I'm the Cliff Kingsbury of the Chicago Sports Podcast, man.
There you go, baby.
I think that was my favorite part though, because I'm looking at that, and I'm like, who the hell is that guy next to him? And I'm like, oh, that's Cliff Kingsbury. I'm like, yeah, that's Mr. Hollywood over there, man. But I don't know about these I don't get worked up over these pro days. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to see Caleb. I was more excited to hear him in the interviews, like kind of what you guys have alluded to a little bit. I liked hearing him talk. I liked his presence and confidence, and just kind of see where his mind's at. Because you could tell he was having fun. You know, as confident as he was, you could just tell he was out there having a good time and having fun with everybody out there. But it's a pro day. He's not in pads or anything like that. There's nobody rushing him. He's out there throwing a football, and it's kind of going to be like that over the next couple of weeks until we get the draft. And I think it's just kind of a filler at the same time, trying to build up our excitement.
Yeah, I think it's just another filler for the NFL, so we got more content to put out there. You know, it's more for us to watch. I mean, because what have they really done? Most of the stuff they do there, they already did at the combine. You know, the quarterbacks are already throwing at the combine. These pro days, they're all scripted. The quarterbacks have already gone through that same exact workout 100 times before the pro day. So yeah, I don't put much stock in it. I don't know about you guys.
I don't know how much stock. I think you're right. I don't know how much stock NFL teams actually put in the pro day as opposed to the top 30 visits. You know,
right?
I think it's from Caleb's body of work. I think the Bears have checked most of the boxes. I think, you know, that the character thing is the one thing Ryan Poles is real heavy on, as we saw with Jalen Carter last year. I think once Caleb goes and visits the actual facility and meets with the team, they have 10 hours with them. He gets to sit down and talk to the coaching staff. They get to feel it out. You know, does Caleb want to be here? Do they want Caleb here? I think that's the most important part of their process, because we've all seen the guy for the last 3 years. He can throw the ball.
Right.
Yeah, the pro day lunch is probably got more stock than this pro day did. As a fan, though, I'm jonesing for some football, so I enjoy watching it. But I mean, it's just what it is, you know. I enjoy seeing any time of football's in the air. You know, I'm having a good time. I mean, other than that, it's just essentially, whether you call it today on the pro day, actually salad. You know, it wasn't a whole lot of, shock and awe in this. It was pretty much like watching basketball layup drills.
But as Kyle alluded to, I think the measurables were important to silence the doubters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, the pro day feels more like a formality, especially for a guy like Caleb Williams, who I think the general consensus is going to be number one, whether it be the Bears or they trade. He's going to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. And there's really not much more he can do. At this point, all he can do is hurt his draft stock. I really don't think that the pro day really meant. It looked like he was having fun. I don't think he took it too seriously. I think he crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and he did everything he could. And I think he only helped his draft stock. They said that before the pro day, the Bears had a couple dinners with him. That's nice to hear. Hopefully that gives Bears fans some peace of mind. I think the writing's kind of on the wall, and that's the way the Bears are leaning.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this as we're talking about listening to you guys talk about the pro day and them throwing the ball and everything that was going into it today. I think the NFL does this so right, and they time this out every year for this, because I bet not many people, unless you're a diehard baseball fan like myself or anybody else on the show, realize that there was Major League Baseball games that counted this morning.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, we're all at work in the morning because it's in South Korea. But you know, the Dodgers played the Padres earlier today. That was the first game of the year. Now, I'm a diehard baseball fan, so when I was at the gym this morning, I was watching all of it, and I got excited because I'm excited for next week for opening day and stuff. But I'm like thinking about this as we're having this conversation. I'm like, how many other people knows that happened? But you could go on Twitter and Instagram and find out everything you need to know about Caleb Williams throwing in his shorts to one of his buddy receivers at USC and then talking about it afterwards. Like, that dominated everything that and pretty much any other sport.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time any of us got excited about a pro day? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't ever remember. And I hope we don't have to get excited for a pro day anytime soon. 'Cause that's not gonna mean good news. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like all eyes are on the Chicago Bears now. Now that all the most of the big free agent signings have happened, and everybody's starting to focus on the draft, I think all eyes are on the Bears. It's ultimately up to whether they're going to trade that pick or take Caleb Williams, and I think most Bears fans know what's going to happen when the NFL draft again.
Yeah, I think Shohei Ohtani sent a "what the hell" text to Caleb Williams. Had to be this day.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, we're never going to have an off season like this ever again.
No.
I hope we don't.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Then we failed. Yeah.
Two top 10 picks, probably get the best quarterback in the last few years. He might end up with a Hall of Fame game, Hard Knocks. We got 3 Hall of Famers going in. I mean, that's the good part. You hope you always get the Hall of Famers, but it's an exciting offseason. I mean, everything blends together, and it's going to be great.
It's a good time to be a Bears fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so interesting too, guys, that that we have this pick in this, we have an opportunity to get a generational quarterback in this draft, and we got to make the right pick. Is we see like what the Panthers did last year, and they take Bryce Young, and now listen, that was 1 year, and he was kind of under the gun, and that team was god awful. And now they have a new coach, and I still don't think they look very good. So I don't know what to expect from him. So you got to at least give him another couple of years, but boy, that was not a very good showing last year. So you want to make sure that you do get the right pick. And this is such a quarterback-heavy draft. I mean, I'm looking everything from the Bears for Caleb Williams to the Giants looking at J.J. McCarthy at number 6.
Yeah.
I saw that today, and I'm like, I thought all the projections he was a second round, but that's how desperate a lot of teams are for quarterbacks. So with your guys' opinion, listen, I've looked at a lot of the tape and watched a lot of highlights of these quarterbacks, not to the depth of a lot of these analysts, but I think Caleb looks like the right guy. But is there a quarterback out there that maybe that has your guys' attention that we're not looking as much at that you think could have a big impact, just like Caleb Williams?
I think Jaden Daniels could have a big impact. Though I thought that a little bit more earlier, but then I started reading more into it and thinking about it. Is the only thing that kind of worries me a little bit is you really didn't hear about him until his 5th year of college. You know what I mean? Like with Caleb and all these other guys, you've heard about them for a couple of years. But you really didn't start hearing about Jaden Daniels till this year. I think Drake May, he has a chance to be good, but other than that, I don't really feel that there's anybody out there that's going to be all pros or have an all pro Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I got to agree with Daniel. I think I see Jaden Daniels as the second best quarterback talent in the draft, and I think you're right, Matt. I mean, there's 5 potential first round quarterbacks, 2 Heisman winners. I think Bo Nix might possibly be right now projected out of the second round, but even he might be in the first round. You're looking at 6 quarterbacks. But the only difference to me is the situation the Bears are drafting a quarterback into. I mean, whoever goes 2, whoever goes 3, you're going to really bad rosters. I mean, the Patriots and Commanders both hired new head coaches. The Bears retain their head coach. They're both kind of starting from scratch. And, whoever's drafted to the Bears, let's assume it's Caleb Williams. We all should. He's going to a 7-win team with 2 number 1 wide receivers. I mean, this isn't a typical situation for a first overall quarterback to be drafted to. So I do think there's a lot of talent in ways of the quarterback position in this draft, but I think whoever ends up on, and actually I think Minnesota might trade into that 4th slot and draft a quarterback. And I think other than Caleb or whoever goes to the Bears, I'm going to say Caleb. Whoever goes to the Vikings is probably in the best situation. Kevin O'Connell's part of that Shanahan tree. He's running a good system. You have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. They just signed Aaron Jones. So whoever goes there is probably in the next best situation. But the quarterback class itself is strong, but the position that the player who's drafted to the Bears goes to will be much different than any other position any of those quarterbacks gets drafted.
I think ever.
Yeah. Especially to do with that 9th pick. I mean, if they get another wide receiver or an offensive lineman, I mean, it just makes that situation even better. Everybody's going to like the Jaden Daniels. I think he's he's clearly the next best quarterback. I'm not too high on Drake May. A sleeper to always watch is Spencer Rattler. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but he could come out and just, he could win his starting job all over again. His immaturity, I think, is what killed him at first. And he had to have grown up a little bit since that QB1 show, but that was rough. He didn't just, put his best foot forward on that show. So I think that was killing him as far as getting people to actually, get behind him and stuff like that. And then he got outplayed by Caleb Williams at Oklahoma. It didn't help him out any. But I think he had some good games. South Carolina, they tend to, they've been killing UK for the last couple of years. It's been killing me. So I mean, he kind of shows up and then just blasts us and then leaves. So but he's got some serious potential to actually win a starting job later on, his career.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, it's for me personally, it's Caleb Williams 1A and Jaden Daniels 1B. And Daniel made a good point. I mean, Jaden Daniels kind of came out of nowhere. He looked really good, but he did it with two receivers who are probably going to be taken in the top 15 of this year's draft, and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. But, I mean, ultimately, I think after those two, it's a massive drop-off to Drake May. But I'm pretty sure the Bears know where they're going with this pick. If Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze don't follow the Bears at number 9, I'd see Ryan Poles trade that 9 pick back and get some more draft capital. That's got Ryan Poles written all over it. Going to this year's draft with 4 picks, I'm not sure Ryan Poles is comfortable with that.
We're going to get into that one second. You bring up a good point there, Kyle. You guys are watching Monsters of the Madhouse Chicago Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Watch some of our other shows. We're talking all Bears, Caleb Williams draft. El Bandito Yankee, guys, check it out. Chris Chelios has a new brand out, Revolutionary El Bandito Yankee. It is smooth core, additive-free, 100% blue agave ultra premium tequila. And you can have that at home this weekend. You can have it. Heck, I'm going to be having some drinks for opening day next Thursday. I took a half day that day. So I'm going to be coming home. I don't know what I'm going to drink it, but that could be a very good possibility while we're watching baseball, football, or basketball games this weekend. You guys can check that out at elbanditoyankee.com. Here on
don't doze off on the couch.
That will be after about 7 o'clock, after a couple of shots of that stuff.
Yeah.
After my girlfriend brings home the pizza, and then I could pass out. I like where you're going there, Dan. Thank you guys for watching us tonight. Check us out on Facebook and our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Kyle, you just kind of dove right into what I was going to get at when it comes to the Bears. What happens next now? We just talked a lot about Caleb Williams and the number 1 pick, rightfully so. He had his pro day today. Now we got the 9th pick, and this doesn't happen very often. We got 2 picks in the first 10 picks of the draft, which I think is very, I think, key to the building success of this team. And I thought about this some more, and you brought up the idea of possibly trading back and Poles, and we're not going to put it past somebody who can do that. I don't think that should happen. I think there's a lot of very impactful players in the first 10 picks of this draft. And you could go in any direction. I mean, it's going to be quarterback heavy in the first part because there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. And then the wide receivers, Marvin Harrison, he's going to be off very fast. But the one that caught my attention today when I was watching a little bit more was Joe Alt of Notre Dame, the tackle, the offensive lineman. Now, I was watching a video. I forgot who tweeted it out. Gosh, I wish I could remember who tweeted it out. But it caught my attention because I was like, whoa, this is a guy that is going to probably be the top 10, if not the top 15, that you can put on your line with his speed, his quickness, and his agility, and his toughness. That when I watched, I'm like, this dude looks like a nasty player. And I watched a little bit of him. I remember him a little bit last year, but I'm like, yeah, we could go the wide receiver route. Now, we did get Keenan Allen, which was huge. But also, Keenan Allen's 32 years old. He's had some injury problems here I know he missed 4 games last year and he missed some time the year before that. When healthy, that dude's a stud and he's awesome and we're glad to have him. But you don't know the health status, and he's on the last year of his deal unless they re-up him. So you might want to go the wide receiver route, but there's also 26 wide receivers in this draft. And if you don't get him in the first round, I am sure of his day you could find something in the second or third rounds of this draft for any team I'm talking about, not just the Bears. But when you look at an offensive lineman like that, I'm like, boy, you can put if you got a rookie quarterback you're bringing in, and then you can go at that 9th pick and get an impact player like him and put him on the line that could be there for a very long time. I think it'd be very tough to pass that up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you could draft your left tackle and your quarterback in the same year for the next 10 to 15 years, I mean, that would be incredible. I mean, that's like a once in a lifetime opportunity for a football team. But I think if Neighbors or Azune is there, they're going to be real hard to pass up, in my opinion. You may also have your opportunity at getting the best edge rusher in the entire draft. So you might want to go to the route of the best quarterback and the best defensive player in the draft, kind of how Houston did last year. So I mean, man, I think they're really going to be set up to be in a nice position no matter what they do. It's going to be an embarrassment of riches of choices when they get there. Whatever they do, I just hope they make the right choice.
Yeah, I think of that ninth pick, like you said, Matt. You said, I mean, that even the top 15 players are all blue chip players. They're blue chip talents. I think they're all, no risk players. And like Dano said, I don't know that Joe Alt will be there at 9. I'd be very
Yeah.
surprised if he is. But a guy that I really like, and when you just talk about working the trenches, is Jared Verse. I think Jared
Mhm.
Verse, a lot of people are high on Dallas Turner, and he's a phenomenal talent, no doubt. But I don't know if he fits the Bears scheme real
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Jared Verse is
Yeah.
just a power guy. I mean, just
Mhm.
somebody alongside Montez Sweat. If Jervon Dexter also has a big year, the pressure from the edge, if you put Verse or opposite side of Sweat, is just going to be, I think, something that most offensive lines can. Maybe offensive line that gets Joe Alt can, but most offensive lines won't be able to handle that. And I agree. If Neighbors, I think the Bears are focused heavily on offense this season. You can kind of tell this offseason especially, but I think if Neighbors, Odunze, or Alt were there, I do think Ryan Poles would select any one of those players. But if any one of those three don't make it there, you can't just you can't just go offense because that's what you need. I think if Jared
Mhm.
Verse is the best player on the board at 9, you gotta select him. You
Yeah.
gotta select him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's really the dream for me. I don't think he's going to get past the Chargers because I know, the only way that I see that happen is so somehow San Diego, the Chargers actually trade that pick, maybe to like Minnesota or something like that. If they go Marvin Harrison Jr. at Arizona, and then Minnesota trades up for a quarterback or whatever at 5. But Joe Alt, that would be the first guy that I would pick if all three of those there, and then I'd probably go Neighbors and Odunze, and then probably start kicking back if I could, if at all possible. I really want a center. I mean, I can't say that enough. I want a center so bad. Either the guy from Duke or Powers, either one of them would, be great. But I really don't. I don't know if I'd spend too much time on the pass rusher. You still got guys like Jadeveon Clowney or something like that that probably won't sign until after the draft or anything like that. So you probably get on a 1-year deal, assuming you have enough money left. I think it takes like something like $9 million or whatever to sign these rookies. So that's probably the way I would go. Maybe if you can somehow miraculously land Alt, you might be able to trade Jones. I know they love him, but you might be able to recoup some of the draft capital that you're losing because I think he's too important of a guy to just have as a swing tackle. You should definitely be able to get something for him.
You guys bring up all very good points. And we talk about Ryan Poles. You don't know what he's going to do. There's a couple of GMs in the league that you're just kind of like, whoa, like you can't predict on how they're going to draft or how they're going to pull back. But do you guys think at the same time, and I thought about this last night when I was kind of looking over for things as we were talking about the show today in the NFL draft. I still think they're not going to trade that. I mean, they could, but I don't think they're going to trade that number 9 pick. But do you think there's a player on our roster, current player on our roster right now, that they could package with another pick that they would trade back to grab some more picks?
I think it would depend, kind of like what Brian said, who would be available when they get to that. Like, depending on who would be available, would kind of tell you what players they may have that would be that they would be able to trade. You know what I mean?
I don't think they're necessarily shopping anyone. I mean, the Bears do not have a deep team. They still need to add more depth. There's not a lot to trade away right now. If they did draft Joel, I think Braxton Jones would be the perfect candidate. But I think at the number 9 pick, they really can't go wrong. I mean, as long as they don't reach and try to be the smartest guy in the room and take some guy that was projected second round, if they land Joel, if they land any of those defensive linemen, if they land a receiver, the only thing that concerns me is if, Matt, as you alluded to, Keenan Allen does have a long, elusive injury history. And if he does get hurt right now with your receiving core, you're basically left with Tyler Scott and DJ Moore, the same as last year, minus Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see them get a guy like Dunze, a guy who can come in and make an immediate impact, because if you're not going to take one of those big 3 receivers, if one of them is not there, you should probably sign another veteran receiver, somebody like Tyler Boyd, just to give Caleb Williams a security blanket, because if you do draft a receiver later in the second round, he might take some time to develop, go through growing pains, so on and so forth. They don't want to put Caleb Williams or whoever they decide to draft in the same position they put Justin Fields in. I think they're going the right route with Caleb Williams. I think they're building a good team first and then drafting a quarterback, as opposed to what they did with Justin Fields, where they drafted a quarterback and then tore it down. But I think they still are missing maybe 1, maybe 2 offensive weapons.
Yeah, the only other guy I think you can see trading, maybe Nate Davis. I don't know how you feel about Ryan Bates on that side of the line. I know he's played about every little spot on that line, so he can play anything, but I don't know how they see him. If they see him as a starter, if they need him for center, but if you somehow land a center later on that you're getting, you might be able to look at Nate Davis as somebody that you might be able to trade for a little draft capital, but that's just reaching. I mean, that's just to answer the question, honestly. I mean, I don't see it going that way, but he's the only other candidate that I can see on that roster that you might want to trade.
Yeah, I think when we look at this team overall, I think my concern is still the offensive line. You bring up Nate Davis's name, and that was supposed to be a big free agent signing last year, and some things went on. I know some things in his personal life, which is always can always affect anybody for any type of career that they're doing. But at the same time, I think he struggled at certain times last year. And then Bates, who we just got, I kind of don't envision him. I know he's more of a fill-in type of player, but is he an everyday starter? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think I think that's a big reason why the Bills were like, you know what, we can make this guy, we can trade him because we have other options that we want to plug in. Yeah. And the center position's still there. And I thought when we did this show a couple weeks ago, the one that I had number 1 on my list were those centers that were out there, because I thought there were some pretty good players that they can go after. And I just thought center was that position last year that we really, really struggled on with this team. So I kind of hope that's why I brought Joe Altnames up, because I mean, yeah, he's a tremendous player, but I think when we look at where we need to build on a little bit more, do we need another edge rusher? Of course. But this offensive line, we're not complete yet. There's got to be a couple other pieces that we got to fill in here. And I think the draft is a perfect way that we can do that. Or do they go another route? The receiver route's going to be a very interesting one too. So it's going to be fun to see how this all plays out. That's why we got 5 weeks to talk about this, right, guys?
Right.
Or draft party. Do you guys start planning draft parties, or do you do anything special for the draft?
I haven't in a few years, but who knows? I might have to for this year with if we're going to draft Caleb Williams. Might have to go out and have a few adult beverages somewhere.
Actually, I work in a bar, and we do a draft party there. We do a 50-50 raffle. We raise money, and we donate half the money to a Bears Care charity. And we do a bunch of fun stuff. We do Bears trivia, a whole bunch of stuff to get people in the door.
Hey, real quick, if any bar owners are out there listening right now, we might be willing to come out there for a draft party. We'd have to talk to Trax, the big guy, but
I can drive Chicago.
There you go.
I think I've worked through every draft, honestly, in the last few years at least. Every time I think draft, I think being at work and constantly checking my phone to see when the Bears are on the clock. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then also seeing the Packers always drafted the guy I want. But no, I like Dano said, this one's unique, man. This is going to be different. It's going to be a different experience. I want to be for sure front and center in front of a television to see that the Bears actually, we can all assume, we all feel pretty good about it. I won't be settled. My gut won't be settled until I see Roger Goodell announce Caleb Williams with the first overall pick of the draft, Chicago Bears. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be insult to injury with that big number 1 in Williams jersey on
it. Heads would explode.
Yes, they would.
I do the same thing I do with the Super Bowl. I mean, I just do the wings, get some beers, have some friends over. It's Bears fan. You got to love the draft.
Hey, this is like our Super Bowl. This is the closest thing we've had to the Super Bowl in years.
Well, if you guys think about it, think about the last couple of years here. I mean, we've been in the top 10 for the draft for the last few years. Like the first, when we got Justin Fields, they traded up to get him. And then we had the number 1 pick last year. So I feel like we've had like reasons to go out and celebrate because of where our draft position's been. But what's funny though? I would say like 10 years ago, and I was talking to a couple of my football friends about this too. Like 10 years ago, like, okay, we'd be excited for the draft, but it would just be there. Like you'd put it on, you'd watch it, and you'd say, okay, these quarterbacks are going to go, wherever star player is going to go. The NFL has done an amazing job of blowing this thing up. And now they're going to random cities. That this year it's going to be in Cleveland. They're going to these cities, and the fan bases are just driving out there in droves, man. Like they're so crowded, and there's so many people there. And then when you go out to watch it, Brian, I was in Louisville the last couple of years. Even last year I went out, and the people, I was out of the place, and it was packed with just fans of all these other teams that were out there. And I'm like, the NFL does this right because they know how to position their brand. They know how to position themselves for these big events. And I feel like in the last 5 to 10 years, they have taken this draft and they've put all these resources in it, and they've made it to kind of like what you said, for some of us teams, like they've made it kind of like the Super Bowl.
Right. Super Bowl of the bad.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't the first year they did that. Wasn't it Chicago that they came to, or was like the first or second year, I believe?
It was in Chicago. Yes.
Yeah. That one in Nashville, man. I regret not going to that one. I heard that was awesome. I was sitting there watching that on TV, all the build up and all that stuff down there on the little main drag there. And I was like, man, I really wish I'd have headed down to Nashville for that. It's only 2 hours away from me. It would have been a good one. So I'm chomping at the bit for them to bring it back to Nashville.
But it's like as we sit here and talk about, we talked so much today on Monsters of the Madhouse about Pro Day, Caleb Williams. We were talking about how this is blowing up around the country about the possible number 1 quarterback, and here we are talking about the draft coming up in 5 weeks. Yeah, and there's a lot of sporting events that are coming up in between, but yet the NFL markets themselves so well that that's what a lot of us Maine fans are talking about right now. It's not necessarily the tournament that's coming up in the next couple of days. It's not opening day next week, even though a lot of us are diehard baseball fans, and I'm excited for that. I'm in baseball mode right now, but it's the NFL, man, and they just do it, and they do it right. It's going to be fun to see when they're out there, and you see Roger Goodell get up there. And I don't know, do you think Eberflus will be up there? He'll be in the draft room. And
Matt, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make a small announcement. We do actually, this Chicago Sports Podcast will actually have a draft party. It is at Bridges, and there will be a couple of celebrity guests as well. So
awesome!
Make sure
there
you
it
guys
is.
Tune into that.
Bridges scoreboard,
if you want to go to Bridges, if you're in the area, make sure you show up. But if you're not, make sure you tune in.
Nice.
Bridges scoreboard draft party. There you go. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, you're watching this in Chicagoland area, make sure you guys join us
on Caleb Williams Day. We'll call it.
We're gonna declare it a Caleb Williams Day.
You'll find me in my Caleb Williams jersey sitting at the end of the bar.
I'll be in my Steelers Fields jersey while you guys are in your Caleb Williams shirt. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, come on, man. You got to come back home for that week.
Also,
you stay at my house.
Also, this Saturday at 3 p.m., Bridges as well.
Yes.
Sportcast will be there.
Yeah, Will Purdue will be there. I'll be there. Trax will be there.
Yeah, your man Dano will be here. So come see
him,
man Dano.
Go see him, guys. And guys, don't forget, as we get ready for Saturday, don't forget about tomorrow night as well. Here on Monsters of the Madhouse, Dan Hampton is going to be on the show. That is at 6:00 Central Time. So make sure you guys check that out. Yeah, it's going to be a great show, man. There's a lot of great shows coming up here over the next couple of days. And there's a couple of ways that you guys can follow us along. So make sure that's on the YouTube channel. We have our YouTube channel that is rolling right now. You can like and subscribe to that on our Facebook page too. And on Twitter, which I watch a lot of our shows on, as we talk a lot about football and everything Chicago sports. We have a great crew of people that work on the show, guys. Like we have Brandon Trax, who is the guy that's founded this.
Who will be there?
Everything that goes there.
Who will be there Saturday at Bridges?
At Bridges
Trax
Scoreboard.
himself will be there at 3 p.m.
You guys go meet him and Dano, and then we got Cleet, who also does a lot of our art, writes a lot of our articles that you guys will see pop up on our Facebook page. He does a very good job of that, and the rest of our crew, Cheryl and everybody else, that keeps us up to date with everything going on. Yeah, shout out Cheryl. Usually gives us our score updates. I don't think the Bulls are playing tonight though.
No.
So we don't need our updates here for the Bulls tonight, but we appreciate you guys and everything else here on the Chicago Sports. So guys, as we got a couple of minutes left here on tonight's show, and we appreciate you guys watching. We thank you very much for that. Is there any surprises as we look around the draft as a whole? We talked a lot about Caleb Williams today, a lot about Pro Day. There's more Pro Days coming up. We talked about the Bears position, 1-9, excuse me. Are they going to stay at number 9? Are they going to trade back? We kind of went over some of those options. But as we look at the first top 10 picks in the draft in general, and specifically in the NFC North, you look at the Packers, you look at the Lions, and we just talked about the Vikings, how they made that trade. Is there anything that you guys are keeping an eye on in this draft in general, maybe outside of the quarterbacks, or maybe a team out there that you think might trade up?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of mock drafts, surprisingly, that have the Cardinals trading out of that 4th spot, which is mind-blowing to me because that's where Marvin Harrison Jr. is projected, and the Cardinals, remember, lost Marquise Hollywood Brown this offseason, and they traded Rondell Moore. So Greg Dortch, I know, is still on the roster, but they're left very thin at wide receiver. For them to trade out of that spot with Marvin Harrison available, that would really, really, really blow my mind, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings look like they're primed with the trade that they just made to add another first-round pick. I think they're going to make a run at McCarthy or one of the quarterbacks. I think that's the obvious one.
Broncos need a win. I mean, they need something. Good God. I know they kind of pushed some of the dead money from Russell Wilson back to next year with making him a June 1st release. But, I mean, that franchise needs a win. They need to get a quarterback, whether they sit there and, just wait for Bo Nix and kind of reach on him, essentially, or Michael Penix Jr. or something like that. But, I mean, if a team desperately needs to trade up, to me, it's the Broncos. They at least need to somehow come away with a J.J. McCarthy somehow.
The biggest surprise to me so far is the more you look at these mock drafts, it seems like Brock Bowers continues to fall, and we're curious to see who he falls to, because somebody's going to get a very, 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 very good player. Going to fall in their lap, and they're staying outside of the top 10 now.
You know what team's interesting to me is the Patriots, because they're right there at the number 3 spot. They got a brand new coach. Looks like they've done pretty well in the offseason too. And a lot of players want to go play for Mayo. Mayo looks like he could be the real deal to be the replacement for Bill Belichick. I mean, I was watching some of the interviews earlier about some of the players that went there and just like his intensity and how they wanted to go play for that guy. So I don't know. Do they stay there? Because they need a quarterback. They need a quarterback in the worst way. Or I keep reading articles or some articles out there where they're thinking of trading back on that pick, or do they go for some of the second tier quarterbacks with them? Because they had a terrible year last year, and they were with Mac Jones and that mess. I'm like, they need a fresh start, and I think they need a fresh young quarterback to go in. They're kind of like the Bears and Washington and some of these other teams that we're talking about.
I think the Patriots, they did something that really surprised me. They signed a bridge quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, which says to me, I think if the Patriots were in position to draft Caleb Williams, I think that'd be your immediate week 1 starter. I think the Patriots are treating either Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whomever it might be they take. I think they're treating them as if they're a quarterback that should sit on the bench for a couple weeks behind Brissett before they actually get a chance to play. I also want to announce either Saturday or Sunday. Sorry, guys. Chicago Sports Podcast will also host Jim Miller as well. In regards to, I apologize for digressing. In regards to pieces that the Bears might trade. There are rumors right now that the Bears might possibly trade Khalil Herbert.
Hmm.
But sorry, back to the Patriots. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Patriots stuff. Yeah.
I think they're going to draft, but I like what Brandon said. That obviously Brissett's going to be the starting quarterback, even if they do draft a young guy. But if they do trade, I could see them maybe trading back and then maybe picking up some picks and drafting like a Bo Nix or something. I mean, I could see them doing that. But I'd say 80% that they're going to go just stay and draft May or Daniels, whoever's there.
You know, you guys just brought up Herbert a second ago, Brandon. But did you guys see Foreman signed today with the Browns?
Yeah, it's a big signing. That's a big deal.
I think that's a good move for them,
Yeah.
and they're in a win now mode, and they got those they're piling up on some weapons on offense. I think that's going to be a great place for him to go and play. And he doesn't have to be he'll be the second or third back in that system. And Stefanski's such a good head coach and runs a great offense.
Well, after that severity of that injury too, who knows that that Nick Chubb ever gets back to full health.
Right.
I think that was a great move for them and a great move for Foreman. So
Foreman runs hard, man. He's awesome.
Yeah. I was a big fan of his, man. For the impact he made when he was in there and played for those very few games for us. He was very impactful, I thought, on a lot of the plays he made. So I think it's
another thing Getsy screwed up.
Right.
Why didn't he go to Vegas? I'm confused.
Him and Fields, right?
They lost their running back.
All the Fields to Vegas rumors that were never going to happen.
Yeah, for the first round pick.
Yeah, for the first round pick, right? Thank you guys for watching tonight, Monsters of the Madhouse. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Watch some of our past shows and our shows coming up. We got some shows coming up over the next couple of days. Dan Hampton tomorrow night, Monsters of the Madhouse at 6:00 Central Time. Watch us on our Facebook page as well, and follow us along, and you'll get everything up to date about our shows on the weekends and when our next shows will be. Also want to thanks to TC's World of Wonders. It is jersey season, baseball next week. You can get your jersey now at tcsworldofwonders.com. Budget Cars, that is in Northwest Indiana since 1972. You can call them at 219-874-5180. It's Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor. They have been on board with us for a very long time. We love them. You can check them out. And Bridges Scoreboard, we were just talking about Bridges Scoreboard. We have a lot of our shows there. They have a great menu. Their food is delicious there. You can watch the game there, grab a couple of drinks. And we're going to be out there this weekend, so make sure you guys follow us along. And you can check Bridges Scoreboard out on their website, bridgesscoreboard.com. Well, guys, Kyle, Brandon, Brian, Dan, it was awesome to have you guys on tonight. This was so much fun talking to you guys because you guys we're just like everybody else out there. We're diehard sports fans, diehard Bears fans, so we couldn't ask for a better crew tonight to have you guys on. So thank you all for coming on.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
It was awesome. And thanks to everybody else watching tonight and our chats. Scrolls, I see you, man. Pinky, you guys can see him tomorrow night. Kyle, thank you all. Debbie, thank you guys for watching, and everybody else. You guys can catch this show on our YouTube page. Make sure you like it and subscribe to that. And tomorrow night, guys, it will be Dan Hampton, 6:00. I cannot wait to watch. And we'll be checking it out. So you guys, man, we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll talk to you next week. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your night. And thank you guys for watching. We will talk to you soon.